Welcome back, fight fans, to another episode of GTS Combat. And yo, I'm looking ahead to what's most definitely a highly anticipated fight, because the first time out, these two guys nearly stole the Fight of the Year accolade from Whaley and Joanna. So I think it's safe to say that we're all going to be looking forward to seeing these two guys face off in the octagon once again. And it looks like Dana White's getting it booked for June 12th. He hasn't confirmed whether it's going to be a UFC Fight Night main event or just on a UFC pay-per-view card. But either way, it's going to be a 5-round fight because it's for the Flyweight Championship. It's Brandon Moreno taking on Deiveson Figueiredo once again in the rematch. So let's get into it. You got Deiveson Figueiredo coming into this 20 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw. When you break it down, that's 9 wins coming via TKO or KO stoppage, and he's also 8-0 coming via submission. And Brandon Moreno, on the other hand, 18 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws. Looking into his record, that's 3-0 coming via TKO or KO stoppage and 10-0 coming via submission. So neither guy has ever been finished on their pro mixed martial arts records. They've never been finished in the octagon. Whenever they've lost, it's come via the judges. So that's a bit mad, really. You can see why the first fight played out the way it did. Both guys are pretty happy with the way their chin works. So yeah, you got Brandon Moreno coming in, the slightly younger chap out the two, 27 years of age, potentially just about touching his prime, maybe just edging towards his prime. And Deiveson Figueiredo, 33 years of age, so pretty much probably in his prime right now, where he wants to be, flyweight champion of the world, dominating the division. If he gets through Brandon Moreno once again, I really don't know who's going to be next for him. I wouldn't want to jump in there with him anyway. But yeah, the height and the reach slightly favours Brandon Moreno. He's 5'7" with a 70-inch reach compared to Deiveson Figueiredo, 5'5", 68-inch reach. And this is the UFC stats, so I'm not too sure how accurate they are. Sometimes don't come across the most legit, but that's what we're going off anyway. So the height and the reach apparently slightly favouring Brandon Moreno, but I can't see it being a factor too much in this fight, as it wasn't really in the first fight anyway. But yeah, just so you know. This is where usually I'd look into their records a little bit, but I don't feel the need to, because I did it in my first video when I predicted the initial fight between the two. So I feel like this time I'm just going to look back on how the fight played out and what kind of adjustments I feel like either guy might make, and who may successfully implement the game plan to get their arm raised in the rematch. So let's have a little look into it. You got, in the first fight, I felt like that Deiveson Figueiredo felt he was quite comfortable. He won 3 out of 5 rounds, essentially, because it was put down to a draw due to that point deduction that I believe it was Jason Herzog who made, because the low blow was pretty devastating. Even though it was accidental, I feel like he wanted to level the playing field because he felt like it could have had an effect on Brandon Moreno's performance for the rest of the fight. So the point deduction is why it really played out and the way it did and ended up being a draw. But in a sense, Deiveson Figueiredo was winning that fight if you take away the point deduction, 3 rounds to 2, and he seemed quite comfortable for the most part. There was never really too many moments where it seemed like the fight was, where he was letting the fight slip from between his fingers. Obviously, Moreno did have a lot of moments. He did have a lot of success in the fight. There was a lot of back and forths, and he had a few moments where he really looked like he potentially hurt Deiveson Figueiredo. But I would say Deiveson Figueiredo seemed quite comfortable for the most part. He was constantly walking Brandon Moreno down for the majority of the fight. He seemed like he was in control of where the fight was taking place. Every time Brandon Moreno would maybe try grab a hold of him or maybe trip him to the floor, Deiveson Figueiredo would just pop back up and sort of take control once again. So for that reason, I feel like Deiveson Figueiredo is quite confident coming into the rematch, knowing that if he makes a few adjustments, because now he knows what Brandon Moreno is all about, that he's going to comfortably cruise to a victory in the rematch. I feel like that's probably what Deiveson Figueiredo feels like. Whilst Brandon Moreno, he had a lot of success, and there was quite a few promising things that showed me how he could potentially get a victory against Deiveson Figueiredo. And I'm not saying that this is, you know, I should be his coach, and if I tell him this, he's definitely going to get the victory. It's going to be a tough task either way against the likes of Deiveson Figueiredo. But I do feel like there was moments where Deiveson Figueiredo would slow down, and I looked at Brandon Moreno, and he still looked like he was buzzing with energy. Now, I feel like he has the capabilities to maintain and sustain a much higher pace for a longer duration than Deiveson Figueiredo can. And for that reason, I feel like when Deiveson Figueiredo slowed down, because there was moments where he would almost stop walking Moreno down, and he was quite happy to kind of just hold his position. It was almost like he was taking a breather. And in them moments, Brandon Moreno would kind of start to walk him down. And whilst doing so, he was putting like ones and twos together. And I feel like he needs to try string, more combinations and let them hands go a bit more. And it's not any discredit to Brandon Moreno. He was trying to do so, and every time he would, it's a credit to Deiveson Figueiredo that he would almost recognise that he's kind of fell off the pace a little, and that would kind of kick his ass back into gear a bit, and he would respond with a strike of his own to kind of back Moreno back up a bit. So it's not to say that Moreno wasn't trying to do that. It's just Deiveson Figueiredo would end up kind of waking back up and responding in that moment, and that would kind of kick him back into gear, and he would be comfortably in control again, and then it would be back to the back and forths. And it was almost like he wasn't almost tired. He just kind of got a bit complacent in a sense, because then you're thinking he's tired, and then he's coming back out and he's just taking control of the fight again, and just letting off his own strikes and letting off his own shots again. So, but if that is the case, and Brandon Moreno could really put his foot on the gas in them moments and take the leads and kind of start to push the pace on Deiveson Figueiredo, then potentially he could take over and take control of the fight. And that's what I feel like he needs to do. He also needs to stop becoming so reactive, because for a lot of the fight and the majority of the fight, he was just reacting to everything Deiveson Figueiredo was doing. He needs to take the lead. He needs to go first. He needs to be in control of where the fight's taking place if he's to get his arm raised. He can't just constantly be reacting to Deiveson Figueiredo. And that's what made it an interesting and entertaining fight for us as the fans, is because every time one person was striking, the other one was throwing back. It was a constant back and forth. It was very scrappy. But for the sake of Brandon Moreno wanting to get the victory, he needs to stop making it just a scrappy exchange of him reacting to everything Deiveson Figueiredo's doing. He needs to actually take the lead and be first to the punch. So that's my opinion anyway, from what I kind of took from the first fight. So in my opinion, Brandon Moreno needs to kind of take charge, take the lead, and also push the pace on Deiveson Figueiredo, because I feel like he can sustain that pace for the whole 5 rounds. And I'm not saying Deiveson Figueiredo can't. He just seems to go at a slightly more cruised pace. He likes to walk his opponents down, so he's in control of that pace. Whilst then, if Moreno pushes it onto him and he's got Deiveson Figueiredo backing up constantly and maybe him panicking a little, then he's not in control of that pace anymore. And that's maybe where he can become overwhelmed potentially by Brandon Moreno. And if he can throw in start letting him hands go, flurries of strikes, maybe even shoot for a little takedown, maybe get him a bit confused, then there's avenues there for the victory. Potentially even if he can get him overwhelmed and get him to the mat, and then actually hold him on the mat and get a secure position, and actually then start to work from that position, rather than every time it kind of hit the mat in the first fight, both guys would just end up shooting back up and just popping back up to their feet. Then there's an avenue there for Brandon Moreno potentially as well. So it's going to be whether Figueiredo controls where the fight takes place again the second time, and if he does so, I don't feel like he's going to entertain any sort of ground game with Brandon Moreno. I feel like he's going to be quite happy to keep the fight standing and just strike with Brandon Moreno. And if he is in control of where the fight takes place, I feel like this will be a slightly different fight, a bit more comfortable for Figueiredo. Probably still some scrappy exchanges in there, but a bit more of a comfortable, dominant performance from Figueiredo. And I feel like he'll probably get a unanimous decision victory, is the most likely outcome that I feel like is going to happen from this fight. But that being said, Brandon Moreno, potentially, if he can set a pace on Deiveson Figueiredo, what's to say, 3rd or 4th round, maybe even 5th round, he gets a TKO finish, maybe even gets into the mat, and with maybe a panic and fatigue, could even get a submission finish in the later rounds. But that's potentially what I see. I see if it is going to favour Brandon Moreno, it's probably as the fight goes a bit further, if he can take control, take the lead, and let that pace take its toll on Deiveson Figueiredo. But I'm leaning towards and I'm favouring Deiveson Figueiredo to actually come out with a slightly more dominant performance and probably get that unanimous decision victory. Neither guy has been finished on the record, so I've got nothing to suggest that that's going to happen in this fight. Obviously, it could happen. Potentially, Deiveson Figueiredo could finish Brandon Moreno within the fight also. You just never know. But my official prediction is going to be a 5-round unanimous decision victory for Deiveson Figueiredo. Let me know your prediction in the comment section below. I've been your boy Jimmy. This has been GTS Combat. Like, comment, share and subscribe. Till next time.